Good morning, Anne Marie and Dave. Guess what we're doing today? We're making this here house start going up. Hope you guys are doing fantastic. We got our concrete truck. We'll go over there in a minute. We got our boom truck. That's the guy right there pumping the concrete to your house. The gentleman in the gray shirt over there, he's the one that's actually controlling all of that. So let's go over here and look at what they're doing. I'll kind of give you maybe some technicals as I walk around the house. Okay? As you can see, they're pouring what they call the field right now. That's out in the middle there, right? This is going to be your your garage. They'll pour that last or after the field. But they're working the whole section right now. Let's go look at it real quick for you guys. Hope you guys are doing fantastic. Remember I talked about footers, okay, on the edge of the house where the framing's gonna set. That's what that is. See how tall that is. All right. So here you'll have all the different stages. He's controlling the boom. Those guys are out, or he's controlling where it generally goes, and those guys out there just keep moving it around and putting the concrete in the hole in the field. So you can see kind of what they're doing. They get the concrete in, they start moving around, get the air pockets out and all that sort of thing. And you can see they've already poured, and they generally start with the footer first. Because if you can see over here where they've done the thicker portion right in there, see? And they'll work it all the way around, and they'll kind of just keep working it from, sometimes they'll go front to back, sometimes they'll go back to front. Doesn't really matter, but they're just moving it around, kind of sort of getting it level. Then they go and tamp it, and see he's banging the form board over there, and he's doing that to make sure that everything settles down in there properly. Okay, and to keep it starting as that concrete sets, it also helps separate that wood from the concrete itself. So when they pull the boards, it's a lot easier to pull. All right, so then. This is a great example over here of how the rebar sets inside the concrete, okay? And this will all be 3,000 pound fibercrete. What that means is it can take, the weight of the concrete can take 3,000 pounds per square inch, okay? With stuff set on it. That's big. And it's got fiberglass mesh in it too, so that's why they don't use, you see that there's no wire on that plastic right there on your moisture barrier. There's no wire because they use fiberglass reinforcement throughout. All right, I'm going to do this video, but I want you to make sure you look at the video very carefully. If you have any questions or comments, you know you can always reach out to me. This is always use this. This is the best part of the whole job right here, as far as I'm concerned. It's kind of cool when it starts going vertical, start framing up a house, but this to me is like one of the best parts. And your concrete will be 4 inches thick, right through the center, and they keep it consistent. There's a little piece of rebar out there. You probably can't see it out there, but they have a couple stuck in so they can keep the level consistent and everything. So looking pretty cool. All right, and you see they're using that skeet board there to kind of get that rough, I call it a rough smooth. I don't know what else to call it. I've always called it that. What they're doing is that they're letting the moisture, the cream, if you will, they call it, rise to the top. The water starts rising to the top, and that way they can start smoothing the top of that concrete out. These guys are they tamp it down, they move it around with the trowels, and then they come through that board. That's the next process where they start doing that rough smooth. Then you'll see them with a full trowel reaching out into the center and really smoothing it over. Okay, so you got the whole process here. You got them pouring the concrete in, you got them stomping it down and moving it around, then you got the skeet board, and they're doing that. So you got all the process going on right here. And then the other fella on the other side starting to trowel the edges and all. So we'll be seeing them with the full big trowel, which they've already used some of it over here. See the difference in these two sections that they've done. This one's still got a lot of the rock and the aggregate coming, settling out, and the cream coming to the surface, the water content. And this one, you can see where they've already done a little bit of trowel work on it. Much smoother, right? They'll go back and do that again. Plus, you'll see later on, they'll also use a machine on this thing when it sets, just kind of sand the top of it and really make sure it's nice and smooth and level, okay? So this is going to be your house. Alright guys, I'm back over here by the concrete trucks. As you know, we've all seen concrete trucks, but a lot of folks don't know how they get concrete from here all the way to your house. Used to be back in the old days, they would do what they call tailgating, and they would drive the truck around and dump it in different spots. But now we have this cool boom truck that they use, and all he'll do, the operator will take the concrete from the truck, dump it in the hopper, and you can see the hoppers in there moving as they need it on the site, and that'll be controlled by the gentleman operating the controls that we just saw. Okay, so this is a pretty big deal. I'm not sure how many yards of concrete are going to go into your house, but these are 11-yard trucks. Okay, so each one of these trucks holds 11 yards of concrete. All right. That's the name of the company. All right, see, he's got him up on it. He's got the rig up on. He's got the rig up on the outriggers. Okay. Same thing we used to do with fire trucks. We would never take them this high, but they do that because they want this thing completely stable. Same thing we used to do with a ladder truck in the fire department. We'd bring it up on the stabilizers. This thing's a big boy here. So now, see, you got the trowel work going on over here. He's doing that second stage of smoothing. Again, as they keep doing that smoothing, the water tends to rise to the top, and so they use that to kind of smooth things over. Okay, doing the long trowel so nobody has to walk on the. Then they'll do hand troweling around the edges and stuff too. So there you go. He's pouring the field over there. You can kind of see the whole operation. He's pouring the field. They're just kind of moving it around, getting it all spread out. This gentleman's doing a little trowel work right here. Okay, very cool. This gentleman's in charge of the pump operation. He's the one who's flowing it as fast or as slow, moving the big boom around so that those guys don't have to kill themselves. The biggest thing is you don't want to have. His job is to make sure they don't have to kill themselves moving that big hose around, because that thing is not light. So a good boom operator, good truck operator is worth his weight in gold on a construction site for concrete. So that's pretty cool. These are the same crew that poured Sharon and I's house. And they do phenomenal work. And the biggest thing about concrete work is if you don't have a great job with the concrete, if it's not level, it's all kind of cattywampus and all that sort of thing, nothing else after that they're gonna have to compensate all the time. I watched them pour my concrete, and I'm watching them pour yours, and I've watched the framing on my house, and there's zero wrong with this. So Mastercraft only uses good people. Okay. And you got the moisture barrier here, right? You saw kind of some of that the other day when I was out here. They had it laying out front and everything, and they just do that to keep the moisture, out of your concrete. And people sometimes say, well, what about all the water that's on top? Well, what happens if there was a big puddle, we could see it, but there's not enough water here. The concrete actually displaces that water. If there was a big giant puddle of water right here and they poured this concrete, it would shove the water down into that dirt. It totally displaces it. So, and plus the concrete itself's got moisture in it too. That's part of how they do concrete. And also at the plant, they do what they call a slump test. Okay, that concrete, we got to stand back. That stuff will splatter. The formulation is created by the temperature, the humidity, everything that's going on, what time of day they're pouring it. All that stuff goes into how much aggregate, how much calcium, how much water, different chemicals for cure times that they put in. All that's done. And a slump test is they take some of it actually by hand and they slap it down on the ground, and they want to see that it takes X amount of time for it to go flatten out. And that'll tell them how long it takes for the concrete to set up and everything like that. And who does that is the actual driver of the cement truck. He's the one that's in charge of that. So you can see how this all works. They're pouring a footer right up in here and push it all down, make sure all the air is out of it and whatnot. And those guys are moving it around. So this is pretty cool. This is all the operations in one right here. And of course the other gentleman was just doing some of the trowel work. He's doing it way over on the other side over there, doing some trowel work. That's all part of it's just the whole process. There's 3 hard-working guys on a construction site: concrete, roofers, and framers. They're all hard workers, but those are the 3 hardest, and these guys are probably top of my list. So there's a good example of using that skeet board. That's metal. It's a metal skeet board. Sometimes they'll use wood ones with metal edges, but that's a full metal one there. And they're just getting that, starting to play with it Sometimes you'll see them tamp it as well, and they're just trying, like I said, bring that cream to the top, because the water helps everything smooth out as they do the top. They push down the aggregate basically with it, and they push it as they're tamping it. The aggregate settles out the rock and the calcium and everything else they put in there, but the water, it displaces the water just like it would on this plastic. It displaces that water as well, and they use that water to help smooth the top. So it's pretty cool. This is my favorite part of the entire job. I love this. And you can see kind of, they've already troweled a little bit of the edge, the footer edge, okay? They're going to work it all the way around till they get the whole field poured. Then they pour patios, garage spaces, things like that. They do that second. Because really they got to get rid of these form boards and stuff too, okay? So now they're moving another concrete truck in place out there. Those are not 11 yards. Those are actually, I was mistaken. They have some couple variations. Those are 10-yard trucks. So you got 6 trucks ordered for your house. So that's 60 yards of concrete going into your house. 60 yards, 4 inches. So it'll be all 4 inches thick. And they pour the driveway. The garage is a little thicker too, by the way. So you'll have probably 4 to 5 inches in there, that's great. And there's a great close-up view. See, as the concrete sets, that water starts rising. And as the water rises, and they're using that water to smooth it. So that's pretty cool. Look at the difference from that, or from the rough to that, to the rough smooth, Dwight likes to call it, to the trowel work. And they'll do this a couple of times as that rises and the concrete sets. Okay? So now you can start seeing some definition to your house. So we got our front walkway over here, or front entrance, right? That's our front door. It's our front patio, or front porch area. Okay, front porch area. That'll be the front office there. I think, Anne-Marie, you're going to use that as your office, the front den space, right? Then, of course, their entryway or walkway, then the air handler closet where the stub out is over there. Okay, so you can start seeing some definition now. Pretty cool. There's your sun rising from the east, so that'll be awesome. You'll never get beat by the sun back there when you're sitting on your nice new patio. See, they're doing some hand trowel work around the outside. And along, he's doing the big stuff over there with the big trowel. They're doing the hand trowel around the edge. They'll do it around all the edges, like your footer, the edge of your house, around where your shower's gonna be, all that sort of thing. Because your shower and your master, let me climb inside here. Let me climb inside your garage for a second. And the shower in your secondary bathroom right here, okay, you notice it's got concrete, but you notice it's also lower. Okay, so it'll hand trowel around this whole edge. And showers will always be lower because they want to contain water if something is to happen, okay? So that's what they do. Same thing with your master shower where he's standing way over there. Same deal, but see him troweling the edge right there, it kind of smooths it all out. See how much water's rising to the top? And that's what they do, and that's what they're using to help smooth it. They call floating the concrete. Okay, very cool. Then after, like I said, after this sets for a little while, and it starts drying up, they'll bring in a machine, and they'll sand, not grind really, they'll sand the top of the concrete with a machine. They'll do that today. Probably within the next few hours they'll have that done as well. So he's getting to smooth the top because that's where your walls are going to set, and they continue that on through the garage, of course, right? Because your garage floor is going to be lower. It'll start here. It'll start below that, below the finished floor level, of course. It'll start here, so you're going to have a step up, of course, to get into your house. But it'll also get lower, a couple inches lower to the front of the garage, so that if water does get in the garage, for whatever reason, it drains away from the house. Everything's about keeping water away from your house and living space, okay? This part of your walls sit on this section here, the front of your house. This is that third bay for the garage. Okay, pretty cool. All right. Let's see what we got going on here. We got just some hand troweling, getting that top of that wall, that outer wall of your garage, all smoothed up. Pretty finite work there. They'll be working on that back corner. They still got to pour concrete back there, but they got to make sure this gets smoothed out as well during the process. You can't wait too long for each of these steps, because if you do, you won't be able to do them. So you still have to have it wet, and this stuff will dry pretty quick. So, probably next 2 days, probably 3 days, they'll start framing this house. The framing package is not on site yet. What I mean by framing package, which is all the wood that goes into making your house, that and the trusses, the truss package for the roof system. Okay, so now we can start seeing some of the infrastructure here. Easy to spot now. Water softener loop. Okay, drain, inbound, outbound. The water comes in the house this way and goes out to the rest of your plumbing that way. Okay, this is your bathroom. You got your hot and cold all, and they put them together like that just because they have to pressurize the system. Of course, all that'll be separated. They've got lines going to each location, bringing from the cold water to the hot water. They'll separate them when they're ready to do all the finish work and everything. Same way with your shower over there on your shower on the other side. You got the hot and the cold going in. Okay, that's where your valve's going to be. Okay, and then the water comes over. Okay. All right, I'm back. They had to wait. They had 4 trucks of concrete here before the pumpcrete truck got here and the crew got here. But now they had to wait about 30 minutes for that truck to show up there. So they're starting to remove some of the form boards because the concrete on this side is starting to set, of course. They're getting ready to start pouring that back corner over there. So that's all nice and wet, so everything will flow together. But you can see that he's back over there with the control panel, and these guys are getting ready to pour some concrete over here. So again, they're starting to knock the form boards. You can see how smooth you're getting. And like I said, they're still troweling. They'll trowel a couple more times, then they'll take their machine over there and grind away on it. So I'm going to go show you that machine here in just a minute. On my way to the machine, I want to show you the cement mixer pumpcrete truck operation. Now again, this is a commercial pumpcrete truck. That's why this thing's so ginormous. The standard residential ones are about 3/4 this size, maybe, yeah, probably about 3/4 this size. This thing's got ginormous outriggers on it. But this cement mixer, so he's got it turned up pretty tight now. This thing's gonna start flowing concrete into the hopper once the pumpcrete truck operator starts flowing concrete. Stuff will come out of here pretty quick. See it all in there turning. So it's real important that these guys, the concrete truck operator and the pumpcrete operator, stay in communication with each other. They have signals on the trucks, and they also have visual cues that they all go by. This is the machine that they're going to use on your concrete here in just a little bit to smooth it. Those are blades, and they're not really blades, they're actually smooth on the bottom. This thing just sits there and goes around in the circles, and they're actually smooth, but they're at an angle. So what it does is it takes this little bit of moisture they use on the concrete, what's left in the concrete plus the moisture, the water they put down, and it helps smooth that top of that concrete just by letting this thing sit on there, because the metal cage doesn't sit on the concrete, but the blades do. So it helps smooth out the concrete. It's like sanding down the concrete. Okay, now here's a great view of the whole pumpcrete truck operation. That's a huge truck. Oh my gosh. And I gotta be honest with you guys, we're just all standing around while we're waiting for the concrete. We're talking about this a lot and how this house sets on it. The concrete guy is Gene, one of the builders here in the community. He's the one who will be taking over the house once it gets the sheetrock, because John right now handles the preliminary stages, or the first stages. And you know, even for this being a corner lot, there's so much space this way, and all your living and everything is further away than much further away than even your third bay garage. People didn't realize, I think, the value of this lot. This is a phenomenal lot. Like I said, it's probably got the most square footage of anyone in this community, I'm sure. So look at this. This is pretty spectacular. I love big things. I love big equipment. That's why I got along so good in the fire department. There we go, we're pouring again. So once they get done with the house here, the main field, of course they'll pour the patio, the garage floor, the front walk, or the front stoop, if you will. Those are all structural pours to the house. Later on, they'll do your lead walk, your driveway. Those are all free pours. As when they have to do a concrete driveway, those are what they call free pours, okay? And those will be done much later in the operation. Now you see what they're doing? They're using that skeet board and they're pulling it, but he's helping them as well, because you got to have enough, but you don't want too much. So he gets it out of their way or moves it into a position of where it needs to be. He's watching how that board's laying out there. Complete team effort. Concrete being a complete team effort. They're getting ready to pour some more in this corner right here. They're a little low. There we go. And that's all being controlled by Jesse over there with his controller. How much comes out, how fast it comes out, where that boom generally goes. His job is to make this guy's life easy. And that's that concrete company, that's a family operation. He's one of the owners right there. The guy in the orange shirt's an owner. And they do all of Mastercraft's work. Pulling the form boards from the inside of the garage. That's how quickly that concrete sets up. That ain't been there very long. So they're pulling the form boards because they got to have the whole thing set. He's doing super careful because you still can damage the edge of that concrete because it's still soft, of course. Okay, but that's why they do slump tests at the concrete plant before they load these trucks. All right, because they need to know how fast this is going to set up, so he knows when he can pull the form boards. And there's different numbers associated with how they do that. And these guys know what those numbers are, so they know how fast or how slow they have to pull these boards off of here. Okay, and here's your AC pad that'll be poured concrete. That's your step outside the garage door. That'll be poured here shortly. And we got a little bit of concrete in there now where they just played around with it a little bit. Okay, so there's a whole science into it. Science and art all at the same time. Hey, now they're going to start working on your back patio back there. See what he's doing? He's making sure by hammering that form board, he's making sure that concrete's down in there, air pockets, loosening it a little bit from the form board itself, but just generally making sure that he vibrates it down in there, because they let it set a little bit, again, to get that cream, that water to rise. So it's a whole sequence of events, and they do that through every step. They're pouring your patio now. They pulled the form board over there on that other side because you want the concrete to concrete. That's why they call this all part of the structural pour. This will all become one piece of concrete here. Okay. You see these form boards sit down lower than the house does, of course, because there'll be a step up into your house, and you always, your patios, your front walks, your garage, all that's of course lower. Okay, as you know. Okay. I don't know if you guys have ever heard the term mud, but that's a term I always use. And if you see this, watch when they use that skeet board and watch when they move that board, what that concrete actually looks like and what it does. Then think about making mud pies or something like that when you was a kid, because it kind of looks and acts the same way, and it's because of the consistency of the water, the rock, the aggregate, all the different things they put into the concrete, the few things that go in to make this concrete when they, for the particular conditions outside, and how fast they want it to set up, or how fast they want it to do, different things that they're trying to accomplish. And you'll see it when it moves. It's kind of like a jello. It almost looks like a jello. See how it kind of flows? You can see it. If you look real carefully, you can see how the concrete reacts. It's not hard. It's not soft. It's almost like I said. It's almost like a jello consistency. So it ripples a little bit. Okay. These guys are artists. It's amazing. It's amazing. These guys are crazy cool. And remember I talked about all outside pours to start sloping away from the house. As you can see where it starts here, sorry, there, and gets a little lower there. You see how it gets more space there? And that's because they want water. If water gets on your patio, again, like in your garage, you'll see the same thing in the garage. They want water to flow away from your house, like rain and whatever else, okay? This is the level of detail that this crew uses and that Mastercraft uses. You see what he's doing with that sponge? That's a wet sponge. Basically, he's troweling, if you will, the outside surface, okay? Because when they pull form boards, the concrete tends to do what they call honeycomb. It's a nickname given because the boards will pull some of the concrete a little bit, like you see over there on the inside of your garage, the back side of your garage wall. What he's doing with this sponge So he's actually going through with that sponge and a little bit of, because the sponge got a texture to it, right? So he's actually kind of smoothing that out. So all that, see the difference? I don't know if you can see the difference over there. Let me get a little closer for you. See, you can see what he's doing over there. He'll take some mud, fill it in, you know, take some away, whatever, but he's smoothing that out. So that becomes much, much smoother with the sponge, okay? I don't know if you guys can see what he's doing over there. Let me get a little closer for you. He actually grabs some and he's putting in with hand. He's building your house by hand right now. He's filling in that area with the concrete at the base of your garage, or the back of the garage wall. He's going to trowel it all in and then he'll smooth it all over and everything. So they're literally building your house by hand. Isn't that crazy? I love this attention to detail. Spectacular. While we're waiting for the next truck to start dumping its load, I thought I would give you a little concrete trivia. You've seen these trucks going up and down the road 1,000 times, right? Like me. You ever wonder why, if you look at the back of them, they got these air hoses here? I've often wondered that myself. And about a year ago, I finally asked why they're there. These are so they can deflate and inflate the tires, depending on if they have to go off-road. Like if this is a really rough terrain or sandy or hard pack or what have you, and they have to get around the back of a house or a construction site, they can do that and they can deflate the tires a little bit, inflate the tires. They have an onboard air compressor. That's what all that's about. So because this stuff weighs a whole bunch. You got 10 yards of concrete in here going around in circles. And he's dumping right now. This will be the last truck they dump. They're getting ready to pour your, they're pouring your AC pad around there, but they're getting ready to do the garage and the front walk. You got a garage. You got a 3-car garage now. Look at that. There's another good example of how they slope things away. See, it's still rough yet, but it's concrete's higher by your doorway over there than it is over on this side. You can see the angle. Sweet! Look at this. I love concrete work. Alright, as they're starting to work on your front walkway there, your front stoop, you can see the concrete's starting to dry. Okay? We can come up here and touch it. It's starting to dry. It's getting hard. Not hard enough to get on or do anything like that with it, because I just put a little fingerprint in it. Alright? But in a little while, see how the water kind of coming to the surface? That's what it does, and then the sun, of course, dries it up. But as soon as this sets a little bit, they'll grab that machine I showed you a little bit ago, they'll put it up on the concrete, and they'll start grinding on it. But it still has to get a little bit more dry than it is now, a little firmer. It may even come back with the trowel again, I'm not sure. It looks pretty smooth now. But they still may come back with the trowel one more time over the top of it to see some ridges, but that machine can take a whole bunch of ridge off too, so it's designed to do that. So this one's still pretty wet. They got to come back here and finish troweling this. This was the fresh pour, or the freshest of the concrete besides your garage. Okay, so and they still got wet over there, so they'll probably trowel this one more time before they even bring the machine over to it. Alright, we're doing some finishing work. They still got to do a little touch up here. They're getting some more concrete for that area for your front walk. But see, he's over on the machine now. See, he's walking on too because it's still a little soft. But you'll see they'll go over this a few times and they're grinding it and getting it all nice and level. Okay, so this thing will be super smooth by the time they're done. Plus he's doing hand work and everything on the other side. But like I said, there's no blades on it. They're thin pieces of stainless steel that's set up at an angle, and they're basically buffing your concrete. Okay, they'll do it while it's wet, and they'll do it a few times to make sure it's all nice and smooth. And again, still working the cream to the top and all. Very slow, methodical process. Okay, pretty cool. And when it's all done, you're gonna have a nice smooth foundation. Okay, all right. There's your new there's your new garage all poured over there. Pretty cool. Walkway, they still got to finish the walkway, working on that. And by the way, just real quick, see that little the pipe right there? That's going to be a whole house shut off for you guys. Mastercraft started doing it. I think I put it in one of my other videos. That's going to be a very cool thing. So you don't have to go out and hunt in the dirt for your water shut off of the house. Nice. Alright, so pretty much your house, your concrete's completed. They just got to finish knocking the form boards away from it all. Let's take a little walk around the entire perimeter for you. You can see the finished product. Try to keep my hand over the microphone. It's getting a little breezier out here now. See, there's your back door to your garage. There's the service door entrance right there. Okay. Choop. There's your stoop and your AC pad. You got the grinder out there, of course. They're still working on that. So now you're starting to see, you can see all that definition. Like there's your master bath area, your shower, your sinks, your toilet. I think I'm feeling a little bit of moisture in the air here. These broom finishing. Putting a broom finish on your patio here. And all that extra little junk, those little boogers, those concrete boogers, they'll just brush right off. But he put a little broom, they put a broom finish on it. Okay, if you can see that. They'll do that on the front walk as well. Just a slight broom finish. Try to keep my microphone covered. There we go. So there's the beginning of your house. That's where your kitchen island's going to be. Right there. Guys, any questions or comments, you know you can reach out to me. We're here for you. This is the beginning. I like it. Front porch. All right, have a fantastic day. We do appreciate helping you guys.